I really should have worn my 4th of July tank top for this.
Yeah, well, it's still a little early.
It's a little early. But, this is going to be coming out on the week, though.
I wonder if I still have my 4th of July shirt.
Do you?
I don't know. The crop top that was like cut into ribbons on the bottom that I tied into little knots.
Yeah.
And it had the like gross white girl arrowhead American flag on it. People got upset when I'd wear that in public. Like the people at Walmart.
That's amazing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, the shitty 4th of July shirt I have, it's a tank top that just has a skull with an American flag superimposed on it. But I bought it when I worked for Torrid back in 2012.
Nice.
So it was extra just like, ugh. Mm-hmm. I just think it's extra, and I keep it for the ha-has because it's a Torrid tank top, so it's cut for fat bitches, so it's not a flattering tank top at all. And I just find it very funny.
I still have my 4th of July shirt.
Yeah.
It's a big dog shirt. I dyed red, white, and blue. No. It's got the big dog putting on a rubber glove, and it just says, "Bend over, Saddam. It's time for your exam." But it's also a big dog shirt, so it's like a 3XL, so I have to cut it down into a tank top. So it's going to be like a cut down tank top.
It's so big. It's also just so upsetting.
It's for big dogs.
It's such an upsetting shirt.
Big dog.
I should switch to all big dog outfit.
Honestly,
and see how long it takes for people to start calling me big dog.
Is that an energy you want in your life, though?
It'd be funny, and that's about the only energy I look for.
That's fair. You're a font of whimsy.
What's up, big dog? Every time I go somewhere.
With the inflection, big dog?
Yeah, you gotta hit the inflection or else it doesn't count.
Big dog?
So if I just say big dog, not
it's
correct?
It's fine, but it's just not the same.
I didn't realize the big dog code came with like a tonal language.
You were never a big dog, I can tell.
That's true. I've never been a big dog.
They do have a really good shirt. I want to get like the official ones. And it's just a picture of the big dog.
All right.
And it just says, "I'm not punk, alternative, goth, or whatever. I'm just a big dog."
Honestly, if you could like get that shirt and wear it to a Spellbound.
There we go.
I'd be so fucking pleased.
I think my favorite part of the Big Dog website is I'm pretty sure they still won't sell smalls of their designs.
They don't sell smalls.
You have to be a big dog to wear their clothes. To be fair, they are a brand that's specifically designed for bigger men.
No, that's fair, but I'm just like, they don't have a small? Like, that's crazy. So what, do they just start at medium?
I think so.
So their medium is their small.
Yeah, but it's cut like an average medium.
Oh my god.
It's not like Starbucks where they just like the sizes of a cup are arbitrary, and so the small.
Okay, here's
is
the
not
annoying thing. I fucking hate Starbucks, but the size of their cups are not technically arbitrary. It's just they never readjusted when they Americanized their fucking cup sizes.
I worked there. I still think it's dumb.
No, it's super dumb. So like because it started off as an American Italian coffee house ripoff, the small, like, so the short and the tall cup were their two original sizes because that's the size like Italian coffees normally come in. And then because America, we just kept tacking on bigger and bigger cups. So that's why the cup names are all fucked up. It's literally like American food culture's fault. And then Americans bitch, like, why would you come up with all these dumb sizes? It's like, because the market demanded that Starbucks make bigger cups.
Bigger cup. Call it bigger cup. Don't call fancy names. It's cup.
It's just, they're like, why would you call it?
I want the cup.
Why is this a venti? It's like, it's a 20-ounce cup.
Call it big cup.
Speaking of big cup, hi and welcome to Blank Bodies, a Vampire the Masquerade V5 tabletop and horror podcast. That was a terrible transition, and I'm your host, Hunter.
Damn.
I'm John.
No, we're gonna call you Big Cup from now on.
I'm Big Cup,
so
son.
We got Big Dog and Big Cup.
And my big comrade. God damn it.
That's too many syllables. Can we get comrade down to one syllable?
No. It's fine.
I think now that I got grills, I could really defend the Big Dog nickname.
You really could. You got those like fanged grills.
But you can't really say big dog when you're wearing them is the problem.
He's just gotta practice.
It's the L sound that I have trouble with the grills in.
He just gotta practice.
The B would probably be kind of. Well, I mean, I guess if you're saying big dog, it can be kind of muddled a little bit.
Yeah, I could do it. I'm mouthing it over here to myself. The problem with L's is you kind of, when you make an L sound, you kind of flick your tongue upwards, and it'll shoot the bottom grill out of your mouth.
Right.
All right. Well,
Whereas
this conversation
big
is so much freedom, and you know
big.
why? Because big ordnance.
Dog.
Hi, guys. We were talking about advanced combat for Vampire the Masquerade.
It's true.
Because I think, if I remember right, this episode should be coming out on the week of 4th of July.
That's exciting.
Yes.
I'm going to post a picture of the grills for the patrons.
You should.
No
with
context.
no context. Hell yeah. So we decided.
Eventually, they're gonna understand.
Yeah, they'll get
when
it.
we just post random shit in the Patreon channel
It's just we were
on
recording.
Saturdays specifically. It means that we're recording, and it's a hint about what's gonna happen.
See,
I'm terrified to see what they think's happening with this picture.
oh, it's a good picture. So you see, you get these are the exclusive goodies you get if you donate to our Patreon. Thank you guys for doing that. But yeah, also in the week of 4th of July, there's also Canada Day, our brethren, and also committing war crimes. So in honor of that, I've written a script where we're talking about some of the more interesting weapons choices you can bring into your World of Darkness game. They are not exclusive to Vampire, but I'm talking about this in the context of Vampire because we have plans for another fun month in the pipeline, and I didn't want to step on toes.
Yeah.
Because there's a bunch of stuff I was researching, and I went, this belongs for another splat, and we will get to that soon. So stay. I'm dropping some Easter eggs, if you will.
Wrong holiday. It's 4th of July.
It is 4th of July. I'm dropping hot dogs.
Freedom eggs.
Freedom eggs. Is that what a hot dog is? Freedom egg?
I was going to say deviled egg might
That's
be a freedom egg.
Oh, God. I do not like deviled eggs.
I love deviled eggs.
Give John egg.
Don't, though, because if you bring them to me, I don't know how long they've been not refrigerated. And they might be deviled eggs, as in, like, they're bringing the devil to my Tums.
If you're coming to Gen Con, please bring John exclusively a gift of deviled eggs.
We request that they be in a cooler so that they're actually, like, food safe temperature.
I'm gonna get drugged.
Don't do that to John.
Get him egg drunk.
Get him egg
don't.
drunk.
Also, if
Actual Scotch eggs.
If you
Dude.
could, ooh.
Dude,
Just
though.
an egg stirred together with Scotch, like some sort of bro protein treat.
You got, dude, no, you made me really excited and I got sad.
Make me some yum yum deviled eggs
What the fuck is...
from Fallout.
Oh,
If they're refrigerated and in a yum yum deviled eggs container, I will say thank you.
I think he's lying. I think if you bring him deviled eggs, it'll be awkward, but he'll like smile and say thank you and eat at least one no matter what. Out of politeness.
So we are digging into VTM for the Wild, the wacky movie schlock for those who want their games to get into the subgenres of horror like action, splatter, slasher, sci-fi, and so on and so forth. Because your horror can be of several types and flavors, and we're going to get into some of the, I'm going to call it fun.
I love fun.
It's fun. It's fun as long as you don't think about it too hard, because if you think about it too hard, you just become the meme of Elmo turning into a Vietnam flashback.
Or you just get into World War II roleplay.
Octoon Thulu, super fun, though.
It can be,
It
Hell yeah.
is kind of fun.
Anywho, so possible inspiration points for those who are like, how do I utilize this stuff in a vampire story? There's films like Blade. There is Tales from the Crypt Bordello of Blood. Because, spoiler, that movie ends in a gigantic laser. Which is metal as fuck. I love it. We have From Dusk Till Dawn, 30 Days of Night, Underworld, I Am Legend, and everyone's beloved animated series Hellsing.
Oh, love.
You could do vampire stories where it's just, hi, this is just gratuitous violence and a lot of swearing. You can just do that. Speaking of, the content warning is gratuitous violence.
Gratuitous!
And war and military munitions. So if any of that's kind of a trigger point for you, we will see you later. We respect that. Have a good day. If you're into that, strap in. Let's go. So I just chugged a bunch of energy drink. Anyways, the sources are Core Book V5 and the Second Inquisition book, guys.
Those are the only two.
Those are the only two. The only two I looked at.
I'm also probably going to be Googling some things, and I'm sorry that I probably won't remember where they looked at.
That is okay.
But I'll tell you though, what? It's Google.
Yeah.
It's Wikipedia, looks like.
Well, right now it's Wikipedia, because I'm looking up a very specific thing.
Yeah, there is some information, particularly in the Second Inquisition book, where the ordinance that are allowed to get very military in a way that I don't have the full context for, so I didn't want to write about it for this. So this is kind of like a step up from the basic combat episode we have done previously. And then if people like it and they want us to do more, we can get into more ridiculous fighting and combat scenarios for World of Darkness games as we progress.
Yay.
Yeah! Because I thought it would be weird to be like, hi guys, we want to talk about vampires and tanks. You could do that.
Hell yeah.
There's nothing stopping you.
But maybe not today.
But not today. No. So, small combat refresher for those who do not remember. Most conflicts are rolled as an attribute and a skill versus an attribute and a skill, or a static difficulty level. Hooray.
Pretty easy.
Pretty easy. Most physical fights, done with your hands and your feet, are some sort of strength and brawl roll. Sometimes that is augmented with a discipline, depending on who you built. But strength and brawl is kind of like your base to go with that. Many fights that involve weapons will either be dex and melee, strength and melee, or composure and firearms. Do want to note with various types of firearms usage, if you're using sniping, a sniper rifle, long range kind of things like that, where you're needing a lot of focus, you can switch it to resolve and firearms. If you're doing a quick draw firefight, like, guns at high noon, or Mexican standoff, however the scene is progressing, you may switch to dexterity and firearms. If you want to do a John Wick gun fu, it is strength and firearms.
Okay.
Yeah, which is still just one of my favorite things that's officially canon in V5, is if you want to do gun fu, it is strength and firearms. Which makes sense. It's just funny, at least for me. I do want to note a thing I had found in the combat section, rereading it again, that I think is a fun note, is if you're in a melee combat situation and somebody has a weapon whose reach is longer or would be considered better for the combat situation than the other party, you can give them a +1 to their dice pool.
So if you've got the high ground,
yeah,
you can take a +1
yeah.
in a melee situation.
Yeah,
or
so
if I have a halberd and you're 8 feet away.
Yeah. So if you have a halberd and you're like in an open field against somebody with a sword,
right,
you would get the +1. Now
I might give a -1 if you're right face to face and one person's got a dagger and the other person's got a halberd.
Yeah. Or you're in a hallway fight and somebody has, for some reason, a long as fuck rapier or a really long broadsword, and the other person has like a dagger or a cutlass that is designed for being in halls.
Right.
Advantage might go to that guy instead.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so you can calibrate that. That's a note that was canon in the book that I was like, that's neat. I should remember that. Anywho.
Agreed.
Yas. Weapons will affect the damage that comes from the margin. So, when you do your combat pool of person versus person or person versus static difficulty, both the pools will be rolled, and whatever the difference is between the two is what is the margin.
What is that noise? I think it's your earring.
Oh, it's my earring. Hold on. I'm too jangly. All right, it's done.
Nice. Sorry.
It's okay. In honor of us talking about weapons, I decided to wear my bisexual sword and shield earring.
Nice.
I'm bisexual. The sword and shield thing is just something the internet has deemed all bisexuals wear, and I just think that's funny.
Okie dokie.
Yeah. Anywho, weapons. You roll your attack pool. The difference between the two is the margin. Your weapons rating is the number you tack onto that margin as a bonus to the damage.
Okay.
So
a shotgun that has a damage rating of 4
yes,
would give a +4 to the damage.
Yeah, not to hit.
Yeah, not to
Right.
hit.
Okay.
But
if you were in a narrow hallway and that person was 10 feet away, you might get a + to hit.
That could be argued.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that kind of what the weapon is used for. A lot
Yeah,
of the time.
it's one of those, like, that is an optional rule.
Mhm.
So if you want to make things more dramatic, or you
Right.
want to reward players for, like, thinking strategically with what they got going on, you can give the +1 to the dice pool itself.
Right.
And then the margin of success is the damage, and then you add what the shotgun rating would be at the end, and then that's the total damage.
Right. Cool.
Cool. I like this system. It just makes combat way easier for me, instead of just being like, all right, hold on, you rolled a d20, and then you add this, and then you add this, and then...
Right.
Fuck.
Yeah, you just roll the dice.
Yeah.
And did you win? Good job.
Did you win? How many win?
Right.
3 win? Weapon? +2. 5 dam.
Waterfall. Wonderful.
So players in
Also,
ST...
I mean,
oh,
like,
yes.
I think it also makes a big difference that, you're not getting, like, 80 hit points.
Yeah.
So you don't need, like, to do all this math to get a significant amount. Because 2 damage against 80 hit points is nothing.
No. But 2 damage...
Against
with-
5 hit points.
Against 5, and it was a vampire, it's half, so technically 10.
Right.
Yeah. So the math be mathin'.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of math there, but it's still not as bad as... Can you have a number? That's about the most you got to do.
Yeah. And it's
Add
like
2.
have, and then decide at table if halves are rounded up or rounded down.
Yeah.
If you get an odd number.
Does the system
There
directly
are There are some recommendations depending on situation. I have found overall it's better to just agree at session 0 whether you are a roll up or roll down, round up, round down party.
Yeah, probably so.
Because then that just makes it easier. Because there are rules for like, oh, well, in this situation, you always round down, and this one you always roll up. And I'm just like, I don't like that as a storyteller, because then that's more shit I have to remember. And I have to remember all these fuck-ass NPCs that I have created. So I'm just like, hey, up or down? Do you guys have a preference? Cool.
I think players are going to always want to go up, but I would just go down for ease of...
Yeah. It depends. I'm in one group where we round down. And
well, I mean, if we round down, that means we round down for everyone.
Everyone, yeah.
Yes.
So if the baddies hit an even, I think it's relatively even either way, right?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Generally, it just kind of makes combat run slightly longer statistically, but not by a fuck ton.
Right. Yeah. Instead of doing the 1 extra damage, you'll do 1
Yeah,
less.
the 1 extra damage sometimes.
Right.
Yeah, I'm certain there is somebody who's really into statistics and will like break this down more and share us a fun video, but I am not that girly today.
Hello.
No.
There's a website that I like, and I can't remember what it's called. If you're just trying to figure out dice math, I was using it as a resource in designing my game. But
Hell yeah.
you can, any dice. If you want to get really into dice statistics, you can literally like type in your own dice system, and it will break down the math for you.
Sick.
That is cool.
And
That's
then
super fun.
they have like pre-built for articles about specific games. Like they have one for Blades and different D&D, and there's a New World of Darkness.
Oh, sick.
So they don't have V5, but they have New WAD, which is similar. But you could look at how they type the math out there in that article and then edit it for V5.
Oh, okay, sick.
I don't think anyone wants us to do a full dice statistics episode, but you can look that up on your own.
If you want that, you have to tell us.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're not going to do it. Anywho.
Even if you tell us, we might not do that. That sounds like a lot of math that I don't want
I like
to do.
math.
Oh, you can do that part.
I
will comment on the numbers.
Yes. As we encourage, as well as the book encourages, players and STs should come up with unique dice pools for their situations due to, creativity and as situations arise. It's not a static, this is what book says, so therefore this is what the dice pool has to be every time for all altercations. So have fun with it, but be reasonable amongst yourselves. You're adults, I'm presuming, if you're listening to our show. Yeah.
You better be.
Please be.
If you're not an adult,
I'm telling your mom.
Go find an adult.
We will reverse engineer your IP address and tell your mom.
That used to be my favorite thing to do online.
What?
When people were really dumb and didn't realize you could see who people were Facebook friends with.
Mm-hmm.
You just go like some kid's mouthing off, you just screenshot it and send it to their mom's message account.
Oh, I will absolutely do that to any child that says a slur on any of our social medias.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'll absolutely do
Hear that, child. We will find your mother.
We will tell them. Or your father. We're open. One of your parentals will know.
And if that doesn't work, we'll come and fight you.
Okay, no, we can't be threatening children.
Oh, yeah, sorry. All right.
Yeah.
We'll fight your mom.
Yeah,
We'll
come fight your mom.
I'll take her out for a lovely dinner. And then I'm your new dad. I shouldn't be threatening that. I'm sorry. It's still pride. I'm too much. Anywho, if you want more details on various combat things, go to the core book, the advanced combat section, pages 300 to 304. And there's also examples of roles on page 128 and 129. If you're just like, I want to do thing, but I don't know what would be most appropriate. There's 2 sections right there that give tons of options that you can springboard from. So, basic weapons. I'm counting basic weapons as items that players and NPCs should have access to fairly easily depending on your setting.
Right.
Certain areas will have their own regional and local laws and customs based on what weapons will be available for purchase and what can be carried. Please keep these in mind and calibrate depending on the level of realism you want for your game.
Yes.
Because I've had fun playing games with some international friends, and the game is set in the U.S., and they're just like, I have to hide this. And I'm like, no, you don't.
You just walk outside with that if you want, bro.
Ain't no one give a fuck.
I mean, some people do, but no one cares about their opinions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, what, you're playing a veteran? Yeah, no, dude, you have... Everyone's gonna let you do that. You're fine. And then, I've been in the reverse where Americans are playing games in other countries, and I'm like, Bruddy, you can't do that. Please do not.
I have played in multiple games in Canada, and I'll be like, yeah, I'm just going to carry this gun with me. And they're like, you can't do that. And I'm like, bet, I'm a vampire. And they're like, the cops will stop you. And I'm like, bet, I have dominate. And they're like, this is not safe.
Yeah, which if that's a choice your character wants to make, that's valid. Understand. There's a non-0% chance that the storyteller might roll and go, yeah, you guys driving down the street and hear, boo!
I compel you to get in your car, turn around, and drive away.
I mean, that might happen here, too, even when it's legal. You're just walking around with a gun.
Depending on the gun, yeah, because we live in a red state, so, like, people open carrying, like, pistols and things is not unheard of. It happens fairly regularly. Mm-hmm. But I've seen a couple people carry long guns, and people don't like that.
Yeah.
And usually especially if you're being loud and carrying a long gun, somebody's gonna call somebody.
Also, if you are like in a state like Indiana and you have your carry permit, having a carry permit and carrying is probable cause to be pulled over because if they see with you a gun, they are allowed to check to see if you have a permit.
Mm-hmm. Actually, that's not true in Indiana anymore.
Oh,
not
yeah.
anymore?
Oh, yeah, that law went through.
Yeah, you don't have to have a carry permit to buy or carry handguns anymore, and technically, you don't even have to be 21. You only have to be 18.
Okay, well.
Freedom.
Yep.
Well, depending on where your game's set, a lot of states still do have that law, though.
Luckily, a lot of states do.
And also in Indiana, that's not true that you have to have one to do that. But when you do get your carry permit, you are signing a thing that gives them permission to check. It's like a driver's license.
Right. Well, what I'm saying is I think that law has kind of not necessarily overridden, but made the other one obsolete.
Yeah.
Like, if anything, you'll go, yeah, I have my carry permit, and then they'll be like, oh, they're a good noodle. I don't need to do anything else.
But if
that's more of like the I used to be a cop, so I have my retirement badge in my wallet. So when I open my wallet to give you my ID, look at me, I'm a good person. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. No, that's fair. That's also just a conversation about, like, how realistic you want the game to be. Because some people fucking love these kind of minutia and trying to, like, squirrel around it. Mm-hmm. Some people are just like, I don't fucking want to. I just want to go I just want to be stupid. Yeah. I don't care.
Yeah.
So...
or if you're an ST and you just want an excuse to have a cop fuck with one of your players.
Oh, yeah, dude. Random events table where you just roll 1d10 just to be like, is today the day? No.
Right.
But one night.
Also... I say, if you're a DM or a storyteller that wants a cop to fuck with one of your players, cops generally don't have reasons.
No,
a lot of the time they just decide.
Yeah.
So just go for it.
Yeah. So
having a reason will probably end slightly better for the cop in that situation. Because at the very least, they'll have an explanation on why they were accosting this coterie. Where just randomly accosting a coterie for no real reason might end up like a snack.
Yeah.
And that's how you end up on a list.
Yeah. Speaking of that, also keep in mind if you're playing a game where certain things need to be purchased and registered and tracked, it's something the Second Inquisition might use. Mm-hmm. So, just things to keep in mind for your games. Just
who's buying bulk dragon rounds?
Right.
That guy in Kentucky.
This guy just keeps buying pistols. And we keep finding pistols thrown into the river. That's weird.
Why does this keep happening?
He only buys pistols at night.
I feel like if you're throwing them in the river, you gotta have a better connect than the legal gun store. Like, I feel like there's a disconnect there. If you're buying a handgun, registering it to yourself, committing a crime with it, and then saying, I can throw it in the river and be done with this. There's a mental disconnect with your planning there. And
they've just got archaic. They don't understand, They don't understand these things. Tracking? What? I just go to the merchant and buy the sword.
You need to go further away and throw it into a different river.
If they're also that archaic, even throwing it into the river might not occur to them. They'd be like, well, I just get rid of the sword.
Just throw it in the oven.
Yeah. I mean, also, you don't have to worry about fingerprints. So,
this is true.
Yeah.
Also, you don't have to really worry about...
You don't have to worry about DNA ever.
If you did Blush of Life.
Sure. But you can deactivate Blush of Life.
You can, but if you were holding a weapon and you activated Blush of Life while you were using it, you're going to have residue, so therefore you're going to have fingerprints.
Right.
So you can turn your fingerprints on and off.
Hilarious.
Interesting.
Which is very funny, but...
You can do that in real life, too. It just takes a really long time to turn it back on.
So, base weapons ratings do exist on a table in the core book. They're on page 304. I did want to also note that below that table is also an armor rating table, which the book says really is only helpful if you're playing mortals or thin bloods, because vampires have damage anyways. I personally think that's bullshit. Because it's like, why would the armor suddenly not work if you're a vampire? Yeah. I think that would just be... It's not going to be fractionally as helpful as it would be to a mortal or a thin blood, but it's still a buffer.
Yeah.
I think the argument there is just a way to avoid having to do, like, tiered math problems to figure out... Because if your vampire halves damage, and that's just to make it simple, you have armor that basically halves ballistic damage.
Yeah.
So you get shot. You're doing 5 damage. Well, I have my armor, so that's going to have that down. We're rounding down, so it's 2. Now I'm a vampire, so I'm going to have that again down to 1. It does get a little out of pocket really quickly to turn a 5 into a 1.
Yeah.
Like, just balance-wise, that shot could kill a really weak person, but also a vampire's just like...
Well, even just an average person.
Yeah.
Could just kill that person.
I think it swings the system a lot to stack that.
It can. My thought as a storyteller is, like, if you're playing the kind of vampire campaign where vampires feel the need to actually grab armor, and they're going to invest for, like, hey, we're running a mission, it's gonna go to fuck, I'm spending the time and effort to get armor.
Yeah, I'm
gonna give it to you.
Right.
If a player is going to be abusing that system...
I'm wearing my armor every day, everywhere.
Yeah, I would definitely make that... Somebody's gonna have fucking comments. Like...
Yeah, I mean, I would say, like, in some instances, Banu Hakim, like Judge, wanting to keep a Kevlar vest on all the time, kind of makes sense, because he's like, no, I'm probably gonna get into some shit.
Yeah.
Like, every day of my...
I'm Daredevil.
Right, yeah. It's my job. So it makes sense, but also, I would definitely make there be, like... There needs to be drawbacks for that.
Maybe a social minus.
Social minuses, maybe even like, a minor like dexterity minus, because Kevlar vests are heavy and bulky. They're meant to like protect you. They are getting better at being flexible and stuff like that. But if it's a plate carrier, you're just hauling around like ceramic plates, man.
It's like, what's your strength? Like, you better have at least 2, if not 3.
Right. Yeah.
I think... I would actually need to look at the armor chart to see how it actually works. At most, I feel like for a vampire, I think it'd be fair to give them like a +1 or 2, depending on quality, to their rolls to defend against damage, basically.
Give me a second. I can just
or
open that.
Give it a -1 or 2, because you don't really roll to resist damage. You roll to resist getting hit. Yeah. So you could either add like you get a +1 or +2 to avoid getting hit, but all other scenarios your dex is minused.
Right.
If you're not of a certain strength or something like that. But otherwise, I feel like it's gonna get a little. I think give you a +1, give you a -1, you done. Yeah. Makes that so much easier than. You don't want this to turn into Shadowrun, and I love Shadowrun, but you don't need to start calculating like physical damage to specific parts of a vampire's body based on the outfit they put on that day.
Yeah.
Go play Shadowrun if you want to do that. It is fun, and once you learn the rules, it's not that bad, but...
It's real crunchy, it's not that bad, and you can do some stupid stuff, because armor stacks for that, and you can get stupid.
You can have a character who only invests in armor, and they just wander through dangerous situations, and they're like, I'm fine.
That's fine. I mean, we're taking up airtime, listeners.
No, you're fine. I found the section, but you can finish your thought.
I was just going to talk about my latest troll that I built, that our first combat, he tanked like 4 shotgun rounds to the stomach. And just beat the guy to death in front of him.
Hell yeah. Shadowrun rules. Anywho, armor. So each point of armor changes 1 point of ag damage from puncturing or bladed weapons per the damage roll. So if you have like 3 damage and a knife is +1, that's 4 damage. But for mortal, that would be ag damage. But if you're wearing armor, it turns into superficial damage.
Right.
Which is then halved as usual if you're a vampire.
Okay.
This protection is generally only useful to mortals and thin bloods, as vampires only consider ag damage mostly supernatural things, so like bladed weapons wouldn't fuck with them anyways. And then it has different rates for armor value.
Okay.
So if you were doing like roll to stab and you're doing dex and athletics to dodge, if you won the roll, I would let you add the armor value to your success if you won the dodge.
Right.
If you wanted, or,
It seems incredibly situational at
It's
best.
super situational. It's one of those, like, I was just noting I, as a storyteller, didn't like the idea of the system basically saying if players wanted to take the time, if they're doing something super tactical to defend themselves and prep, that it's taking away my storyteller ability to grant them protections. Like,
Yeah.
if, like that seemed silly. That's how you talk to the players to figure out how you want to run this.
That makes sense.
It's just one of those, like, for me, I was like, I don't like that.
I also absolutely kind of love the fact that it specifically denotes, like, Thin Bloods could use this, but it'd be useless to other vampires.
Yeah, well, Thin Bloods take damage like mortals, but they heal like vampires.
Right.
So for them, that would make sense to
Oh yeah.
want, like, at least a stab vest or something.
I should have been doing that for a game where I was playing a Thin Blood, but I think I only did at the end game because somebody else in the coterie gave me a Kevlar vest. Sometimes you make choices in character, and at the time you're like, this makes sense, and then later on you're just like, why the fuck did you guys let me outside like that?
I think also, for going back to the armor thing for a second,
Yeah.
I think it would also make sense for armor to only work against things that would be counted as superficial for the vampire that's wearing it.
Yeah.
Because if something is going to count as ag damage, that's like werewolf claws. And I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but a plate carrier is not going to fucking protect you from that.
No.
They're going to tear straight through
Yeah.
it like butter. So
it's one of those.
it's like when it's ag damage, I don't think that armor would protect against it.
Yeah,
Unless
no,
you're in like a
my-
fucking mech suit.
Yeah, my suggestion on the armor rating was either one, adding that as a bonus for your dex and athletics roll,
Mm-hmm.
which is a little bit different than the weapons rating where it would be added at the margin.
Right.
I would just say you could either add it at the roll, or you can count the armor rating as like temporary superficial hitboxes.
I mean, yeah, that makes sense because like a plate carrier takes a bullet, maybe.
Yeah.
I think one.
Yeah,
for-
so the
for
Kevlar
plate.
was like a rating of 2, so it's like, okay, that's your first 2 superficials knocked out, the vest is busted.
Right.
I like that. That's
like
probably. I think that's the best way to handle that
Yeah.
actually, because they don't last forever. If you're actually getting shot at or stabbed, like it's I got to replace that immediately now kind of scenario most of the time.
Yeah.
So
So it gives you like, as a vampire at least, it gives you like a little buffer, which in sometimes in conflicts, that little buffer is all you fucking need
Yeah.
to get through something.
Right.
So it's like, okay, you're not impervious, but it's at least something.
No, I like that.
I would
So.
probably homebrew that rule for all the splats too. I
Yeah.
mean, like even for like Hunter, it just makes sense that like if whatever you're after is shooting guns at you, your bullets aren't just gonna bounce off your vest forever. Like you
Yeah.
bought 5 points of armor. All right, you blocked 5. All right, it's useless other than a fashion accessory at this point, unless you're gonna repair it or replace it.
Yeah, I like that.
It's like ammo for a gun. You can't just buy it. Most players aren't gonna be like, I bought a gun. I'm good forever now.
I'm just like, did you buy ammo? I don't
Yeah.
normally ammo count as a
Yeah.
storyteller because I'm assuming your character is competent enough to do that. But I
Right.
will, if there's a dramatic moment, to be like, hey, have you been keeping track of your ammo at all?
Right.
Cool. Roll me a d10. Why? And I was like, that's how many rounds you're going to have left.
Right.
That, and I think it depends on the kind of game you're playing. If you
Yeah.
are playing a very high story game where combat happens, like maybe every 3 sessions at most, it
Mhm.
makes sense that at some point they would have bought more bullets.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But if you're getting into combat weekly or more than once per session, it might be let's keep an eye on that because it has a price tag.
Yeah. That's
And-
all. Yeah. And it's also just, if you keep shooting people, someone's going to notice eventually.
Yeah. Well, that too. But even just from like a brute standpoint of here's how these things work, it's like
Mm-hmm.
as long as you have 1 dot in resources, you can afford ammo. I just need you to take the time out of session to be like,
Depending on the ammo.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm thinking of like basic stuff, like you buying like 22 or handgun rounds or
Yeah.
something, maybe
Yeah.
shotgun rounds. If you're buying Walmart available style
There you go.
ammunition,
Yeah, which is where the tier we are at in the conversation now. It's just basic. Everybody should have pretty decent access to what I would count as a basic weapon.
Mhm.
So, on the weapons rating per the core book, here's just a rundown of their recommended bonuses. So, improvised weapons gets a 0 bonus.
makes sense.
So, it's just, I grabbed a pan, I grabbed a stick,
Right.
metal water bottle, that kind of shit. A light piercing weapon, they count as like a crossbow bolt or like a switchblade. Smaller, stabby, you get a +1. That's light impact. Light piercing, oh wait, no, sorry, that was light piercing. Light impact is things like brass knuckles.
Or a table leg.
That might be improvised.
Really?
Maybe.
You could crush someone's skull with it.
No, you're not wrong. I might put that into light impact.
Yeah.
So, That's a
I have legit used table legs as hammers before.
I know
so-
you have. I've seen it. That's why I'm like, you can have the table's a little nebulous, guys. So you can have discussions as long as you all agree on it and that's what you're running with. Cool. Then we have light gunshot, which the book says is like a 22 caliber.
Okay.
Gets +2.
Pew, pew.
And then heavy impact, the book says is a baseball bat or a tire iron.
Okay.
That's also a +2.
That is a +2 as well. The thing that did make me go, what the fuck, was they counted heavy impact as a baton.
I would make that light, probably.
I would-
I mean, they hurt like fuck, but like a baseball bat's gonna do a lot more damage.
It was
I think
weird.
it depends on the kind of baton they're talking.
That was what-
Extendable batons, I think, would go in light, but like a military or police like riot baton,
Yeah.
those are usually hard and heavy, like
They're
heavy
weighted.
hardwood.
Yeah.
If they're not weighted, they're actually just like, well, technically they're weighted because of where they put the handle at the very, very, very,
Mhm.
very end. So that just a little whack has so much velocity at the end of it,
Mhm.
but it's essentially just a big dowel rod.
Yeah.
But the way that they're designed is to just deal as much just thwack as they can. with
Yeah,
that little
it just
dowel
I
rod.
thought
So-
that was a weird choice because brass knuckles is light impact, and I'm like, you could very easily kill somebody with brass knuckles.
Yeah.
So I was just
Which
like,
is why I think it would depend on the baton. An
Yeah.
extendable, like you
Mhm.
keep it in your pocket,
Whack,
out.
yeah.
That definitely light
if
impact.
you're buying it at a gas station, light impact.
yeah.
yeah.
But if you're getting like a riot baton,
Mhm.
I would say that's probably because I have one, and that thing is rough.
Yeah.
I have just like smacked it slightly against my leg, and I'm like, oh man, no thanks.
No thank. So yeah, it was just one of those like, I had some quibbles, but there's also I am owning a lack in my knowledge of particularly firearms. I'm not super into, so correct me as needed.
Also us, because
Yeah.
I know enough about firearms to get myself into conversations that I no longer know anything about firearms about. Does that
Yeah.
make any sense?
Yeah, this is a when I am storytelling, and if I have a player that is super into firearms, I'm like, I'm trusting your knowledge here on this, and if we need to like Google check to verify what you're saying now and again, cool.
Mm-hmm.
But Anywho, so heavy impact is +2. That's baseball bat or tire. Medium fire shot gunshot is a +3, and they're counting this in the book as a 9mm pistol, a 308 single shot rifle, and a shotgun at effective range. So shotgun at what is the planned distance?
Medium range.
Medium range
essentially.
usually, yeah.
Yeah, like 20 yards,
Yeah, that was like between 20 and 30.
something like that.
Yeah.
There's
That's
a
when- That's
little.
when the spread starts to get kind of wide, and you're not
Yeah.
going to hit with as many pellets if you're using pellets. I think.
Yeah, the range you're supposed to be using if you're using a shotgun for hunting so that you can like kill your target, but you're not like exploding it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on the type of shell you're using too.
Mhm.
I would just stick with this if you don't want to get into that minutia, though.
Yeah. But if you
'Cause
want to, you
It's
know.
like birdshot, you would have to be up close to do anywhere near that kind of damage.
Mhm.
Birdshot
like,
might
it
just
could.
drop it down to like light shot or light gunshot damage.
At effective range,
Yeah,
yeah. But
'cause-
close, it's still going to do a fuck lot of damage if it's.
Actually, I watched a video not too long ago.
Yeah.
At like point blank and close range, buckshot and birdshot is essentially just a slug.
Mhm.
That makes
It
sense.
doesn't
that's
have
like all the
time
metals,
to
like, right
actually
there.
Spread.
Yeah.
It's just a thwack of all of it.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a bunch of fun redneck channels on YouTube that go into the minutia of all sorts of these firearms things, which I've had to watch a bunch of those because of player decisions. And they're
Storytellers-
fun.
Also, storytellers, when you give your your players shotguns, watch their craft skill. Just watch it. Be careful, because there are engineers out there that make shotgun rounds that are crimes against God. Like,
Hi, it's me. I'm the
they're
problem.
Fucking awful.
It's me.
I saw a guy who made a shotgun shell that had like basically wings on the inside, which turned it into basically emulated the same kind of spin that you'd get from a rifled barrel rifle,
Mhm.
and turned his shotgun into a long range rifle
Oh, yeah.
just by designing the shell properly. So if you're gonna let people get wacky with it, it's gonna get out of hand.
I saw one where they had like 100 or so like tiny foil discs
Mm-hmm.
stacked on top of each other and then like clamped super tight.
Mhm.
And then they had 22 LR blanks shoved in backwards.
Mhm.
So that when you shoot it, it shoots, it penetrates, and then the first thing that it hits, those 22 rounds hit and
Mhm.
explode, and all those foils are supposed to separate.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I've found some
What the fuck?
custom shotgun round crafter people on YouTube showing their craftsmanship on their designs.
It's cool.
And I use some of that information because some of those crafters sell their wares in the US and went, hey, storytellers, this literally exists. Here's how it works. Here's my science and craft skill. If I am not allowed to make this, could I buy it? Here's my resource dots. And they went, yeah, how many you want?
If your vampires aren't afraid of people, you can fix that quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, for sure. So going down the list a little bit more. So heavy melee counts as things like a fireman's axe or a broadsword.
Makes
That is a
sense.
+3. Huge melee. The book recommended a claymore sword, which I don't know if any of you have wielded a claymore. I have.
They're
Holy,
big.
not inaccurate.
Or a warhammer.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what else would even classify as heavy melee.
Like battle axes, sledgehammers, I would possibly argue. A sledgehammer, I mean, like,
I might put that
depending on
in heavy.
Well, depending on the sledgehammer,
Yeah.
I mean, the weight is like
Yeah.
the same amount of metal that you'd put into a large sword. A lot of
Yeah,
it.
the book also recommended a
Like-
steel beam as a huge melee,
Yeah.
but that might be somebody using potence to like
pick up a big fucking steel beam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like a dumbbell from a like a bench press dumbbell.
Yeah.
That
One
could
of those
be.
things would be fucking. What are those, like 40 pounds usually?
It
20
depends.
to 40?
It legitimately depends. You can get plates and pretty much
Oh my
anything.
God. Somebody with like 80 pounds of plates on the end of one of those things.
Yeah, you
just
could-
swinging it around like a club.
Because they're designed to be variable, because it's too expensive to buy weight sets where every single weight is an individual whole unit.
Yeah.
So you're changing the plates out. So you could have a vampire take like a barbell, only put weights on one side of it, because there are exercise reasons to do things like that. But then just wield that like a warhammer, basically, where it's just a giant like disked plate slamming into things. That I would probably consider a huge melee.
Huge
Yeah.
melee, I might consider beating a motherfucker with another motherfucker.
Yes.
I think might also count as a, well, he's
That is
large.
110 pounds.
That is, you lifted a big boy.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then the last one, heavy gunshot, which is a shotgun at close range or a 357 Magnum is what the book suggests. And I'm like, you're not wrong.
These sometimes I agree with a lot of these. Some of these confuse me a little bit because I would have to Google to be sure, but I'm pretty sure a 308 rifle
That one
does more damage than a 357.
They specifically said a single shot, so I don't know if they're meaning like a bolt action rifle
Yeah,
as opposed to...
I was assuming like a hunting rifle.
Yeah.
it's still technically I mean, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah.
Someone I know the names of the people in our Discord who know and that will correct me. Go ahead and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure a 308 is still technically counted as a high power rifle.
I think... Yeah, this is where my gap in firearms knowledge kind of kicks me in the dick.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I could see these both being interchangeable depending on the kind of gun as well as the kind of munition. But these are the things that the core book was recommending.
Yeah, I was just arguing. With the
Oh,
core
yeah,
book,
no,
that's
you're
all.
good.
Also, I would probably bump down the Magnum at least a round.
Yeah.
I mean, they're scary, but like no grade of pistol and the ammunition that can be put in a pistol is gonna do what like a sniper rifle can handle.
Yeah.
So like this round, I think the top round, heavy gunshot, shotgun at close range, like military grade sniper rounds.
I would say a 50 cal because it's not in the US. I know you can get 50 cals for fun shooting for a sniper. I know it can happen. So that's probably where I would slot that is the +4.
I would even argue making that a huge gunshot round.
Well, that's what, yeah.
Because that one's
would-
heavy, and just making a new fucking category. being
Huge
like,
gun, +5.
Look, your bullet is like 7 inches long. You get +5, man.
Yeah, that getting into huge gunshot
Yeah.
damage was kind of where I wanted to cut
Okay, all right.
because I'm like that might get into advanced or into the spicier options that we're gonna talk about later in the series.
Fuck yeah.
So I'm just like, yeah. So there's a lot of bleed and crossover, and you can just this is what
Have
the
a
book said.
conversation
Have a
with your
conversation.
storyteller.
like
Yeah.
we're having right now.
Yeah. So, advanced weapons. I'm counting advanced weapons as these should be more specialized, requiring training, licensing, black market, haggling, etc. These are items that shouldn't be unobtainable, but may require use of background, skill, and knowledge checks or even projects to use and or acquire.
That's fair.
So it's like, I'm not saying as storyteller, no, but you can't just get this.
Mhm.
Like, how are you getting this? What is your reason? Do you have contacts to get this? Do you have even the resources to get this?
Right.
Even if you had it, are you capable of using it? Do you even know what the fuck you're doing?
Mhm.
Do you understand what you're signing up for when you acquire these things?
Yeah.
Or is your character going to end up like FPS Russia?
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have laughed so hard. But yeah.
If you don't know, very foundational YouTube channel, one of the first big ones. But when you sign up to own, you have to sign a special license for each of these very restrictive weapons that you own. And part of that is you're giving government agencies the ability to come check on you. I believe it's once a year or once every 3 years. They can just come out in whenever they want without warning and check to make sure that everything that you're doing is above board. He had enough weed to be classified as a weed dealer. And when you're a weed dealer with a tank, it goes straight to felony land.
Yo.
Multiple felony land.
The ATF does not like that.
So if your players are fucking with this stuff, people are going to notice. And any other indiscretions that they have possibly made will be used against them.
Yeah, and if the Second Inquisition and or the feds are coming for your player characters, they're going to do the terrible thing of not coming for them immediately. They're going to get record of them fucking up for a hot minute and then crush everything in one go.
Mhm.
So keep that in mind, everyone, as we proceed. Sorry, this is where it gets like kind of like a little, ooh, this is hot, this is a little spicy. This is where some of the problems are going to kick in, so strap in, everyone. Weapons that are listed from the core book that I would consider to be advanced weapons, or things you might need to have some extra knowledge and things about. First one will be Molotov cocktails, which I know a lot of people think is like, oh, you just put some liquor in a bottle with a rag and throw it. And I'm like, yes and no.
Technically that would work, but not as well as you'd hope. And it depends on the liquor.
Well,
You're going to want to use gasoline most
you're
likely.
going to basically want to use jellied gasoline if you're doing it correctly, TM asterisks, which that requires some like chemistry technical knowledge. Not a fuckload. I'm not saying this is unobtainable.
It'd be at least a craft one, though.
Yeah, but this is going to be you need to kind of know what you're doing a little bit.
For your character's knowledge,
Yes.
like equal parts styrofoam and gasoline.
Yeah. For game purposes.
For game purposes.
Do not
put
this-
that in a glass bottle.
This is
and
not a
that.
5-minute craft channel. Do not. That was the crazy thing on TikTok for a while. There was like a 5-minute crafts channel.
That was making shit like that?
Yes.
Hell
Beautiful.
yeah.
I was weird. I was just watching it going, what the fuck? Okay, the internet's wild. So,
I'm sad I missed that.
the core book recommends for Molotov cocktails that these weapons roll the throw check, which is
Dex
Dex and Athletics versus a difficulty
or
of
strength and athletics, right? You can argue that.
you could argue that. But it would be versus a difficulty of 4 to strike the target successfully and set them ablaze. Because you can throw the bottle and it's smashed, but the fire went out.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good guerrilla tactics weapon, but it is not #reliable.
Right.
Hence difficulty 4.
And that's why you throw like 8 of them.
Yeah, that's why you have a milk crate just full of them, and you just keep.
Yeet, yeet, yeet.
This weapon will do 2 ag per turn of fire damage unless put out with a composure and survival check at difficulty 3.
Damn.
Fucking bananas damage. And note that it said per turn,
Yeah.
not round.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also want to note that fire deals ag damage per exposure at ST's discretion per the dangers to the blood section at page 221. So there's not a static fire does this amount of damage. In general, typically it's kind of left to you're going to do less damage if your hand is stuck in fire versus all of you.
Right. Is that why you think they're saying it's two per turn? Because it's at least like your arm. Your entire arm is on fire now.
Yeah. Yeah, this is just kind of like they're trying to quantify this, I think, because there is an accelerant involved as opposed to just an amorphous amount of fire.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if some of these fire rules sound a little, hey, that's not consistent, I'm like, it's literally not consistent anywhere in the book, so I'm sorry, my guys.
Yeah, right.
So
Fair enough.
Everyone's players want to start using fire in almost every game I've ever played.
I don't understand it. We're vampires. You guys remember this, right?
We're supposed to be afraid of fire.
We don't use this as a weapon. We avoid it as a weapon, especially indoors.
Yeah.
Why do I know so many vampires that want to use fire weapons inside?
Well, their plan is to use it and then run. I mean, we burnt down a party, but we technically set a bomb off before we left out of Christmas lights and tinsel.
You guys were literally at the exit door and there was an event going on where it was very awful, terrible people. I was like, you know what, morally, this is fine. This is also a building with multiple exits. It's not like you barred somebody in a building and then set it on fire. I'm like, the bad guys could escape.
Yeah.
But fuck their house.
Fuck that house.
So.
And all those cars.
Fun weapon that I really want more people to use because it's fun. Net guns. You can just net somebody.
Didn't we have wasn't our Malkavian working on a lightning net gun?
Yep. Yeah, he was. Yeah.
That's a theme that's followed our gaming group. And it's always people who haven't talked to each other who's like, what if we electrify a net?
That's true.
You're right. It just keeps happening. And I'm like, I've been dealing with this fucking electrified net concept for like 15 fucking years.
I don't think anyone's actually gotten it off the ground yet.
No, not yet. Not yet. But it keeps
We're
being
working
workshopped.
on it. We're working on it.
So,
if you see us at a Gen Con at a regular booth, we'll be selling electrified nets because we'll finally gotten it down.
So if you have a net weapon, these weapons will affect the dex score instead of health.
Okay.
So each success when you do your contest roll counts as superficial damage against the dex score. And it will be halved as usual. Once the target is at 0 dex, they are tangled and cannot move or attack.
Huh. Okay then.
To escape the net, the target rolls Dex and Athletics versus the difficulty, which will be set by the total number of successes the net has had during the encounter.
Damn.
So, first round of combat, the net gets 2. And the second round of combat, the net gets 2. So that means the difficulty to escape the net is 4.
So it's constantly getting harder to escape.
Yes.
Interesting.
Because every round that you're tangled in the net, you have to roll to escape. Or you can just choose to be like, well, I'm stuck.
I have an idea for a character.
It's just very funny to me that it's like, yeah, it goes against your dex score. So if you have like a dex score of 4, if you failed if you did not pass your second round with that net,
you have to crit to get out.
You basically have to like roll, succeed against the difficulty of 4 to get out of the net, or you're just like, well, I'm in the net now. This is where I live. Vampire the Masquerade needs more nets. That's all I'm saying.
I am going to make a Toreador.
Yes.
Who uses nets.
Like a bullfighter.
And rapiers.
Oh my god.
And he uses nets and he taunts people a lot.
Oh my god. Love it.
Or she. I don't know yet.
They.
Yeah. I don't know yet.
Yeah.
Who knows?
The net knows.
The net will know.
But
They're
yeah.
be the most like Tilda Swinton androgynous. No one knows, and they refuse to answer if someone asks. But the net, the net speaks for them.
Yeah, you could just, and honestly, as a storyteller, I'm like, you could make an NPC that like has a net trap somewhere for whatever reasons, and this would just absolutely baffle your players.
Love it,
because no one's expecting this shit.
No one's expecting a net.
A net, no.
So things that players sometimes do expect is a flamethrower. So, flamethrowers get a +0 ag. So whatever your margin is for damage is the damage of the flamethrower. There's no extra bonus to it. When the target is hit with the weapon, and for every round until the fire is extinguished. So whatever the margin is, like, that's the ag damage every round until the fire's put out.
I'm gonna start carrying fire extinguishers with me everywhere I go in game.
Vampires should have way more fucks given about fire safety, just in general. And 2, vampires need to be donating to their local fire departments so fucking much. Constantly.
Yes!
Constantly.
Well, you
It's
gotta be careful,
so
because,
funny.
you know, the SI might start putting things together. This fire station is so well funded.
It's so well funded.
Why can this tiny fire station afford 5 trucks? What is happening?
This guy sends pizza and hookers to this fire department every month. What the fuck?
Also, more wool clothing, vampires. More
More
wool
wool.
clothing.
Wool is fire retardant.
Yep.
Just so folks know. Can't wear that asbestos anymore. People get upset.
Fools.
Also, this flame damage must be fully smothered by either water, sand, or other kind of de-accelerants to stop the fire.
Because you're just covered in burning chemicals.
Yeah, because it's a petrochemical accelerant that's being shot out and then also set to blaze.
Yep.
So you got to put the whole fucker out.
So you need, like I said, my vampires are going to start carrying backpacks, and either they're going to have fire blankets, or they're going to have fire extinguishers with them all the time.
Yeah.
And nets.
And well, the net is going to be tied on like a cool sash.
Oh, okay.
Oh my god. So another thing that's fun to talk about, stake guns.
Hey!
So the way the core book talks about this is hunters and Second Inquisition agents have been seen retrofitting sharpened stakes to put into grenade launcher attachments on assault rifles, like a bayonet.
All right.
And they just kind of come up point blank and then just boom. I think there's a lot of other different ways you can do a stake gun. John has a thing that he likes doing with like an air compressor.
Yeah.
Like a potato
Yeah.
cannon.
A potato cannon from fucking hell.
Yeah.
I've also seen people retrofit, again, shotgun shells.
Yeah.
Basically, just the wad behind regular pack wadding, and then just like a short wood stake instead of.
Yeah.
That would definitely work at short range.
If people want to borrow this is a very nasty thing I've done in a game where I did a similar thing, except I enchanted some wood. So instead of it being a solid one piece of stake, and if you miss the slug, you're just fucked, it still does scatter rounds like a shotgun, but it's just basically wood shrapnel. But the wood is enchanted, so all of it, once it goes into your body, it just tunnels straight to your heart. I'm pulling from some old Vampire the Masquerade for that idea. I understand I'm a problem.
You're gonna have to spend a lot of dots.
That was a big spend.
But...
That was a big spend.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you want to get real creative and mean, oh baby girl. Hi, welcome to World of Darkness. You can get creative and mean. So the core book also has some rules for combat staking. So to stake a vampire mid-combat technically counts as a called shot to the heart, which means for the called shot, it is -2 to the attack pool that you're rolling, and it will be done at a difficulty of 5.
So you have to get 5 successes.
Yes, for it to be a one and done dramatic.
Boom.
Yeah. But the cool thing is, this is done before the halving the 5 damage.
Okay.
And it can be superficial or ag, so you just kind of have to get to 5.
Right. Okay.
So that's the one kind of leeway counterbalance, because it's like, why would you ever bother trying to stake a vampire? And it's like,
Right.
for staking specifically, it counts pre it being halved.
Okay.
So
Cool. So you don't have to do 10 damage.
yeah.
Where would you count if somebody were to take a sledgehammer and drill out like a hole and put a little pin in the very far back, right? And then they were to like take a 50 caliber round and put that in there, like a blank, and they were to shove like a stake in that, and they were to use that as like a rocket hammer.
Here's the funny thing. So we have a section in the core book called Disguised Weapons.
Oh shit!
You gave me the best segue.
Nice.
So there are rules for doing wacky shit like this, and this can range from if you want to do Cold War era spy tech where it's like a pen gun, or if you want to go as, your stereotypical like sword, cane, or whatever hidden.
Have a belt buckle that is actually like a sheathed blade of some sort.
Yeah, or a belt buckle that is just a dick gun.
Boot knife.
Yeah.
Boot knife, yes.
Razor blade in the baseball hat.
Oh yeah, you can go full surviving edged weapons if you want.
Okay.
Also, if you just want ideas of bladed weapons that are just wacky, just go watch Surviving Edged Weapons.
Great video.
It's a great instructional video. Asterisks, there are footages and photographs of actual corpses in that, so...
Is it on YouTube?
Yes.
It's marked as educational.
But it is there. But it's like the best police instructional video I've ever seen, and thank you, Red Letter Media, for bringing it to my attention years ago.
Edged.
I think we watched it before Red Letter Media, because that was one of the ones I had from the old tape trade days.
Oh shit, you're right. I guess I forgot about it, and then I watched it on their special, and they're like, this is literally one of the best things we've ever found.
We watched so many of those back in the day. I don't blame you.
Yeah.
I used to legitimately trade VHS tapes with people online for weird shit. So
Yeah. So if you're doing any kind of a disguised weapon, depending on what you're doing, this may require an intelligence and craft check to make, and you might have to require a specialty in the craft depending on what the item fucking is.
Right.
Discuss it at table. once you have the disguised weapon, they do roll at a -1 what the normal attack pool would be, unless the crafter got a critical success on their crafting check.
Okay.
Because disguised weapons tend to not be built in a way that they're functioning the way that the item normally would or supposed to. So to compensate for that, it's at a -1.
Right.
Again, unless you have the master craftsman.
So this gadget that I just thought of here, the auto-staking sledgehammer, would be at a -1?
If you were going to use the sledgehammer as a stake gun, I would say for the gun roll, it would be a -1. But if you're using it as a hammer, I just roll it normal.
Well, yeah, the idea would be use it as a hammer, and then when you hit somebody in the chest, it pushes the little bit of stake back into the firing cap and then shoots the stake out.
Yeah.
It'd be really hard. I would have to increase the difficulty for you to craft it initially if you wanted to build something like that where it didn't go off every time you swung it like a hammer.
Oh, no, it would be used every single time you swung it like a hammer. That's the whole point for it.
Okay.
At least in my head. I like the idea. First of all, I like the changing of the difficulty depending on how wacky this idea is.
Yeah.
And two, I like the idea if you just make an addition that if you're using a crafted weapon like this and you get a critical failure, something catastrophic also happens with the weapon. So like your beast takes over, and your beast takes over in this case because the 50 caliber round you put in there didn't do the math right. That's not going to get held in by that shitty sledgehammer that you bought at Walmart, and the fucking sledgehammer explodes. That's a cool idea.
Yeah. It's like, oh,
You
beast
fucked it
to
up.
fail. Yeah, you have a hammer. What? Yeah.
Right. It looks good.
You think it's good?
Right. And the first time you use it,
It just explodes.
it explodes.
Yeah, shit like that. If you want to notice that somebody has a disguised weapon, that will be a wits and awareness versus a difficulty, which is based on either the stealth of the wielder
Okay.
or the craft score of the maker. I would say decide before that comes into play which one of those it is, just so you have it noted somewhere. So you could be somebody who's like, yeah, the guy who crafted this is like, okay, but like I'm super good at stealth, so you can use like your stealth rating. Or it's like, my stealth is meh, but the person who crafted this is like really fucking good at craft, so you can use their difficulty.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's neat, and that also just opens the world up to your imagination of just wacky, dumb shit. Now we're gonna get into the weapons from the Second Inquisition book.
Ooh, speaking of wacky.
Yes.
Oh, I read what the first one
The
was.
first one, dental pliers.
That should not be a weapon.
Hi. There's a reason why the Second Inquisition book has a section specifically about torture and how to handle that in games responsibly. Yeah. Please check that out. I'm not going to talk about it right now. We've talked about that previously, and I feel like we're probably going to talk about it again in the future. So
torture is probably going to at least come up in most vampire games.
If the Second Inquisition is involved.
Yeah. Or even if your vampires are real spicy.
Yeah.
But handle it well.
Don't make it morally innocuous, like Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Or GTA 5.
Yeah, or...
Yeah.
Toy Story. Toy Story 3 has a torture sequence in it.
I never
So
made
does
it that
Zootopia.
far. The fans scared me away from Zootopia immediately. It's not really my bag of tricks to watch that movie anyway.
I didn't watch either of those movies, and I wasn't aware of the torture sequences, but there's a recent Jacob Geller film that he talked about torture sequence in Call of Duty, and then he brought those up as reference points, and I went, what the fuck? And then looked it up, and I went, nah, he right.
Damn, that's wild.
Yeah, we can talk about that later in a different episode.
Torture's funny. Put it in kids' movies.
Dental pliers.
Dental pliers.
So, removing fangs from a vampire requires a strength in medicine or strength in brawl versus the restrained target. The book didn't say what that would be. You can kind of set that as you want. But they just said restrained target.
I mean, that could be anything from tied to a table to there is a person on each of your
They
limbs
could
holding
have
you
a
down.
dex and athletics to try and resist, but because they're restrained, you could also just be like, no, they
Right.
get to roll this, and then just the damage is going to dictate how long the scene is going to run, if you want to be really gross about it. Ugh.
Yeah.
Each fang removed inflicts 1 ag damage and can be prevented from regenerated by filling the gap with molten metal or bone paste. This is canonical in Second Inquisition book, guys.
Can you undo that? Like, if you are a vampire and you go and you tear out the molten metal afterward.
I would say yes.
Yeah, okay. That's still
But
fucking insane.
until that happens,
Right.
you basically will be counting as having the baby fangs flaw, which is a thin blood flaw from the core book on page 182, if you want to look up what that does.
All right.
I just thought it was interesting to note that it is canonical within V5 that you can't prevent vampires from regenerating.
Mm-hmm.
That was the main reason I wanted to talk about that.
It's interesting.
So it's like what does that mean for what does that mean for everything else? Oh no.
I imagine I know we did extreme violence warning, so, but say I cut off another vampire's arm, and then you put a metal cap on the end. I assume that would prevent the arm from growing back.
Because they like physically can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I suppose that'd be a lot less energy than just continually cutting the arm back off.
Yeah. Or gilding it.
Yeah.
Just dunking it in molten metal.
Oh no. Fuck.
Yeah, that's basically the easiest way to put a metal cap on there.
Yeah,
You're right.
Just go.
There is
put a big old jar full of acid.
There is canonical evidence for what happens when you pour molten metal in a vampire, but we'll talk about that another time, I think.
Is this Vandemar?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that poor little crazy bastard. What if we fill him full of gold? And it's like, buddy, no, do not.
Oh boy.
Another weapon that I think is interesting. Flare guns.
Yeah.
One of my favorite weapons in Vampire ever is a flare gun.
I used to carry one in real life.
Yeah, they're legal.
We have a couple friends that used to carry them.
It's great. So the weapons rating is dependent on whether or not the flare gun is a pistol or a rifle. Apparently there are rifle flare guns. I was not aware of that. I've only ever fucked with pistols.
They are, but I think the rifle versions are mostly for naval and like hikers. Like the rifle version might be something that like a park ranger would carry. I don't think normally even like someone hiking would have that. That's like, I use this flare a lot kind of situation.
Well, I think that for that kind of thing, it would also be like rifles are known for being able to shoot further.
So it's getting it more up. Yeah.
So it would be like naval or like backwoods, like firefighting or logging, things
or
like
military.
that. Military. The reason I wouldn't see a hiker doing it is, well, why would the fuck would a hiker just be carrying around a rifle?
Yeah.
Like, that's too heavy if you're just hiking. A park ranger, I could see it if they're like in like a national forest where they might be going pretty deep into the woods, something like that.
The point I'm trying to make though is that like the rifle is not going to be common.
No.
I don't think I've ever seen one, and I've seen some of the crazy shit from the earlier lists, like at least in like a museum setting or something. I don't think I've ever seen a rifle flare. And I also know you can get like rifle shells for like shotguns and stuff, so a lot of those people might carry something like that instead,
like a flare round for just whatever they have.
Yeah, because flare round you can fit in a shotgun. Just side note, a flare round you can fit in the right bore shotgun, so like
that means you can also fit the right bore of shotgun shell in a flare gun.
Once, usually, but yes.
That
Because
is a
they're
one
plastic.
Yep. Just saying that.
Just saying
this
for
one shows
game
this one shows
purposes.
a picture of a 50 caliber round sticking out of the end of a flare gun.
Jesus Christ.
Technically, that will work once.
America.
But I'm guessing that person doesn't actually hold it in the video. I'm not going to watch it right now to find out. But I'm guessing that's one of those, we strapped this to a table and tied a rope to the trigger and stood behind a shield to see what would happen.
I would like to watch that video because I want to know. Because, I mean, a vampire with potence.
Or enough fortitude
could resist the kickback of that. If it doesn't just explode in their hand.
Yeah, I was thinking fortitude more of like I was more thinking about it just exploding.
Yeah, because the biggest problem with using that as a weapon with even shotgun shells, but not even a 50 cal, is that it's literally plastic backing, so all the pressure is being forced into that plastic.
Yeah.
So like with a flare, you're just shooting a really lightweight bit of phosphorus to burn forward usually, and the shell comes out. But like what I'm saying is your payload's not that heavy, so even the plastic, it's enough to keep it going. Boo. A shotgun shell can blow the cap backwards at you and bits of the flare gun at the person using it because it's got so more. So a 50 cal, I imagine, would just be like holding a grenade borderline.
It's like holding an M80.
Right.
God.
It'd be the most fun version of the Roman candle game we used to play, where you
Yeah.
just put that in there with a string on it, and you just chuck it while you hold the string.
Yeah.
When it hits the end of that rope,
Bah.
who knows which way it's facing?
We should be dead. So, a flare gun, the book rates them as doing 2 ag fire damage. I think it's just the one time, because it's a flare, even though flares burn for a minute.
I could, against a vampire, I would argue that it's correct. Against a human, if it's close enough, those can actually punch through skin.
Yeah, it was one of those, like, I see what they're doing.
I absolutely agree.
It just, the physics part of my brain went, what? And then I'm like, you know what, fuck it.
That's what I just vocalized.
Yeah. We both went on the same journey where I was like, what? Okay, fine.
Yeah, makes sense, I guess.
I guess. Also, when a flare gun is shot, there is a +1 to any terror frenzy for 1 round, especially if the vampires are in an enclosed space, because it's a
fair.
bright light and a big fire. For
It's a
little.
very, very hot fire. It's like white hot.
Yeah, because oftentimes it's phosphorus.
Yeah.
So flare guns, taser.
Holy shit.
Oh, what?
Flares get up to like 1600 degrees
Yeah.
Celsius.
Yeah.
That's 2,910 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yes, that's why the terror frenzy to avoid the big hot bright fire is +1 for a round. Because you just go,
Holy shit, it's on the opposite side of the room and I can feel it.
no. So tasers, real quick. I would like to say a taser, because if it's a taser gun, probably should fire like a light gunshot.
Yeah, I would agree.
Would be my thoughts. It would be composure and firearms with the +1 at the end, because it's a little taser prong thing.
Yeah.
I couldn't justify making that any heavier.
For sure. Those, because the prongs aren't meant to do actual damage.
Yeah, if you have the taser where it's the hand zip,
Yeah,
it's probably
it's a
going to be a melee
Absolutely.
with the same rating. So
Agreed.
cool. If the target takes any damage from a taser, they must roll a composure and resolve versus a difficulty that is equal to the damage of the weapon.
So if it's a damage to weapon.
Well, no, damage of the roll.
Oh,
So
okay.
if you, with the taser, did a damage of 3, the composure and resolve is 3
Right.
difficulty.
Okay.
Otherwise, the target is incapacitated for the next turn.
Thud.
Yeah.
Love it.
The book did note vampires have damage as normal due to them, quote unquote, not relying on electrical impulses to animate their muscles.
That has a lot of
That has so many implications.
Yeah.
But I'm like, but you can still electrocute dead flesh and it does the twitch thing. So I don't know. That's another one of those, like, there's a lot of implications, and for lore as a note, that's fucking fascinating.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if they just didn't quite think that through all the way, like science-wise, because absolutely, you can take dead flesh and go, and it'll tense up, and relax and move around and stuff.
Oh yeah,
so,
the ye olde experiments of like making dead frogs dance and things like that.
Yeah.
So it's like it wouldn't be, but also because vampires don't rely on their body's electrochemical impulses to function. They're not like us, where if we take like 6 milliamps across the heart, we're done.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I think that's the logic they're going with.
Right.
So that's why the damage is less. So yeah, I think it's vampires have electrical damage like they would other mundane weapons.
I think that makes
I think that's what they're
sense.
aiming for.
Until you're getting to high voltage. Because
But
then
I think
it's
it's-
essentially just fucking fire.
Well, yeah, but when you get into higher voltage, I think that would just be, I might, as a storyteller, add to the damage rating then.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, what I'm thinking is like,
yeah.
like if a power line or
Yeah.
like they stick a fork in an outlet, that's ag damage. I would say, wouldn't you? I mean, that is the stuff that lights houses on fire.
Yeah, that's... I wouldn't disagree, but we were just talking about tasers.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
You took it to this extreme where I'm like, I don't disagree, but that's not what we were talking about.
Yeah, we were just talking about electricity in
But
my
just
brain
like
there for a half
general tasers. So,
Yes.
Now, would the SI maybe potentially like have a very souped up taser weapon, specifically to incapacitate blank bodies, so that
No, not
they
me.
can be experimented on and interrogated later?
Absolutely.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Absolutely. Capacitors can hold a lot.
Because yeah, I
And
don't.
all you need is that one good one.
Yeah, because I can't think of a composure and resolve check that a vampire could avoid in terms of electricity, but taking less damage, I think, makes more sense.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought that note was very, like, they don't rely on electrical impulses to animate the
weird.
bodies. I'm like, that is a fascinating lore note. So anyways, flashbang grenades.
Hello.
Ew. So to throw a grenade, that'll be a dex and athletics to yeet. And to avoid being blinded by this, it is a wits and resolve. If the target succeeds the check, they are disoriented for 1 round, which means any wits-based check for that 1 round is done at a -2, but all their other checks should be fine. If the target fails, they are blinded entirely.
Makes sense.
Eye protection does offer a +2 to resist a flashbang's effects.
Nice.
Now, if you want to have spicier grenades and other explosives, the SI book does talk about thermite.
That's fun.
Ooh! So, to craft thermite, this can be done with an intelligence and science check with a difficulty of 3.
Okay.
So, hurrah. Finally, the science skill check is getting some fucking use. I love science. I hate that there's not more games that let you utilize it effectively.
Yeah.
Because I keep dropping science dots in games and then just being like, fuckers, let me use this. Quit all of you being horny and sad. You're turning me into Herbert West. So once you've crafted your thermite in-game, this is hypothetical for game.
Yeah, you don't craft thermite in real life. Don't do that. It's bad.
Thermite can be added to weapons like grenades and is nearly impossible to put out.
Yeah.
So because of this, you can look into the science of thermite to verify what the book is saying for this. I'm not going to get into the science of thermite because I don't want us to get canceled like that.
The only note I would put there if you're using it in-game is it's nearly impossible to put out. It's also very hard to start a blaze.
Yes.
Like, you're not going to light it with a cigarette or even like a regular lighter.
No.
You're going to need something like a grenade, something.
Most of the time it's lit with magnesium. You light your magnesium and then you put your magnesium on the thermite.
I think I've seen somebody do it with sodium once.
Yeah. It has to get to, well, I have the all of human knowledge, right?
Yeah, we have the axis of all of human knowledge. So it's one of those, if you're not putting in a grenade to light, I'm going to probably ask as your storyteller to explain to me how the fuck you're lighting this. But once it is lit, because it is nearly impossible to put out, the book suggests that thermite should burn for 3 ag damage for 3 rounds, because it burns really hot and it burns really quick. Yeah. So it's a pretty static, just...
You look like up the word ignite, maybe?
Oh, ignite. That's better. I was blanking on the word.
Which I'm not saying that you shouldn't play with thermite. I have seen thermite burn through car engine blocks. Like once it's lit and it's going, like that's just happening.
Yeah. It lights at 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit and it will burn at approximately 4,000 degrees Fahrenheit.
Fuck.
Yeah.
So it's intense.
Yeah.
You can make it out of soda cans.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say.
The SI book does note that a lot of Second Inquisition agents really like using thermite against vampires, particularly they can find where they sleep in their havens, because they'll just light it and leave it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They'll just burn down into them, basically.
Yeah, and through them.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm just like, oh, Jesus Christ.
Fucked.
Oh. Because, yeah, that's just once you get it lit, it's just an automatic, that's 9 ag.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing you can do about that. I'm like, oh, God, no. And another thing that's awful and hard to get around, white phosphorus is also listed in the Second Inquisition book.
Oh, fuck.
Fuck, right? So while white phosphorus is burning, because it is an agent that produces a lot of bright light and also a lot of, like, smoke cover, which is why it's used tactically. Mm-hmm. It'll be -3 to any roll that requires sight. This also makes using any dominate-related disciplines that require eye contact completely ineffective. This is per the SI book.
Yeah.
And also, it gives a +2 to resist any presence uses. So, not an uncommon tactic for Second Inquisition agents to light up a space with white phosphorus first.
Mm-hmm. And then go in.
And then go in, because at least it's like nuking some of the vampire's abilities.
Yeah.
So tactically it makes sense. And if you want to be a dickhead vampire, you could also do that too. There's not much stopping you.
Yeah.
I did want to note, due to the volatile nature of white phosphorus, I would recommend using the thermite rules for any bodily contact with the substance, along with a terror frenzy rules similar to the flare gun rules. Because the book didn't really give any stats on if somebody is hit with white phosphorus, how that affects them damage-wise. But there's a lot of evidence that currently exists on the internet where you can see how fucked up it is. And there's a reason why it is illegal to use according to international law. So, that would be my recommendations.
Okay.
This is also a very fucked up war military thing that if you want to have it in your game, okay, maybe have a talk about it at your table.
There isn't a spot for this, but I wanted to bring it up just as a fun idea because I feel like this is the episode to bring it up, and maybe we'll put it off.
What?
But I had a Zamitzi character that we worked out a special weapon, quote unquote weapon, really that last ditch effort.
Yeah.
Does that belong in here with his tummy time? Or is this a different episode?
That might be a different episode because that's like an actual ordinate.
It is. All right. Well, next time we do more wild ass weapons, listen in. You might get to hear some
last
silliness.
Wild ass weapon I wanted to talk about is something that is part of a style of weapon that is showing up more for crowd control that I wanted to talk about. And is the version we're talking about is called the Active Denial System, an ADS. And the best way to explain this is a crowd control heat ray. So this sends out a targeted beam of heat into a crowd, and it focuses on one area and then kind of radiates some heat out, but it's pretty controlled directionally, and it's supposed to be used to like disperse crowds and riots and things like that. It has a cousin called the LRAD, which is as a sonic version of a similar thing, where if you're in the direct line of the LRAD, it could pop your eardrums. Like, it is a nasty piece of equipment, but if you're just to the left or the right of it, you're mostly fine. For a ADS, the SI book says everyone within the AoE will resolve area of effect will roll a resolve and composure to avoid backing away from the heat ray, because you go, fuck, that's hot, I don't want it.
Yeah, it's not pleasant.
Yeah. After 3 consecutive turns of exposure to the ADS, because this is a standard ADS, by the way, you'll be taking 1 superficial damage per turn because the heat is getting to you. So if you're trapped somewhere and they're pointing this thing at you, you're just like, oh, that's hot. Well, I failed. I can't get away. I failed. I can't get away. I failed. I can't away. Now you're taking 1 superficial damage per turn. So depending on how many people are in a round,
yeah, that could be rough.
That you could be going down in like a round or 2.
Yeah.
Which is awful. And according to the Second Inquisition book, the agents of the Second Inquisition have souped up versions of these devices that will be doing ag damage instead of superficial, and they're designed specifically for combating vampires.
That's scary. I have weird feelings about things doing damage per turn, because it would really suck if like, I get stuck. I get my one try. Now I have to, if I'm in a large coterie, now I have to wait for the 4 other people. I just took 4 ag because I failed 1 test.
It's per your turn, I believe.
No.
It's every turn in combat.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's why it isn't per round.
I don't like the math on that.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
if you're in a small coterie with 3 vampires, sure. I'm taking that's like getting stabbed. But like if I'm in a large coterie with a total of 6, maybe 5, 6, that's like, if it's a souped up one, I'm dead. I just took 5 ag.
Yeah.
During someone else's turn. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I feel like you might want to work with your ST on that a little bit.
Yeah, that's one of those. If you're getting into like, this is like advanced weaponry kind of things, and this is something that I don't see too many people playing games where the Second Inquisition is going to be rolling these things out quite like this.
I think it's just the in general, like a flamethrower or being caught on fire at all being per turn is the problem. Unless you're also going to give them the chance to get out of it every turn. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's just how I feel.
Yeah,
personally.
these weapons are written out in a way in the book because they're supposed to be not something you fuck with, and they're supposed to be scary. So that's why it's so harsh. So it's not something I would bust out lightly as a storyteller.
For sure.
And it might just kind of need to be calibrated depending on the silliness of the chronicle.
I guess my thought, here we go, better way to word it. I don't like that this is a completely variable type of weapon, like advantage. If it was does this much per round, like does 4 per round, and that just happens so often through the combat, sure. But if it's every turn, and it's a party of 2, then this weapon just became almost useless. If it's a large party, then it became incredibly scary.
Yeah. I understand that, like, if you've got a large coterie, say, that the other party members are probably going to want to try and put you out and neutralize that weapon first. That's going to become the main target immediately the second it's pulled. But, like, even if you're in a small coterie, what if there are 8 goons in the room? What are you going to do during 8 humans' turns while you're the scary vampire and human goon number 4 scratches his nuts and throws a brick at you? Well, the brick does nothing, but you're taking 3 ag damage because you're already on fire. I would just roll that per round damage anyway.
Yeah.
And even if you make the round damage a little worse, like almost just double it and then say that's it, would I feel be more fair than having it swing so wildly just depending on how many people are standing around when it happens.
Yeah. Because I think having it per turn is supposed to kind of mimic just timed exposure, because fun thing with World of Darkness, turns and rounds, time is wibbly and kind of doesn't fucking matter.
Right, but they also suggest a round is what, like 6 to 10 seconds?
6 to 10 seconds,
something like that. So, like, and that amount of time nebulously is not going to change that much, regardless of how many people are in it, because all of those people are technically acting at once. So no matter what, you're spending the same amount of time under the heat laser in this case. Yeah,
it's these once we're getting into these levels of advanced weapons.
Yeah.
I'm kind of stuck in a storyteller catch-22, because it's like, I want these to be scary and fucked up because they are, and especially the way they're being wielded.
Absolutely.
But I also don't want to be a TPK fuckstick.
Yeah, I think they're scary even per round damage. If you're even as like a tough vampire, like the ADS is pretty much going to fuck up most vampires anyway.
Yeah.
So to add per turn damage to it seems like overkill when even like it's resolve and composure. So even if you have like normal combat abilities that help you avoid getting hit and stuff, it's not going to do a lot. Yeah. So even the tough guys are going to be getting fucked up. That's enough for them to say, we gotta go.
Yeah.
I don't think adding 3 ag or whatever, or ag per turn is going to make a big difference. If I was playing that game and that happened to me, almost every situation, it's like, we need to kill that person immediately, or we need to leave immediately. There's no like, all right, well, I guess we'll have to get set on fire for a couple of rounds while we keep fighting these people. It's like it's already a run or eliminate situation.
Yeah.
So to me, I would be a little mad if my ST pulled out something and in between me getting hit and me even getting a chance to take action in combat, I just burned to death.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
That's probably why storyteller would be example being like, if there's like a brouhaha rant going on and it got called in as like, oh, there's a riot. And so you bring out the riot vehicles and you have one of the ADSs, like a standard one. I'd probably use the standard one as the initial, like, ooh, scary. And then maybe have the souped up one as like a BBEG super weapon somewhere.
Right.
Like, there's ways of doing this where you can have it be, it has to be mounted to a truck. Like, these are not small things. Yeah, so I don't want to sound like I'm trying to come off as the book's like, no, it should be like this. It's like, I can see why it is the way it is, and I'm like, yeah, you can change things the way you want. It's kind of whatever.
Yeah, I would certainly just, from my perspective, I would go a little lighter on this, especially the first time you're running something like this. I think most players are going to be caught off guard by this thing.
By a heat ray?
By a heat ray in your vampire game. They exist in real life, but they are very uncommon because they are incredibly, I think ineffective is probably the best word, for the size and amount of energy and what they do.
Yeah, because even to get to the point of giving damage, you have to be sat underneath it for 3 fucking rounds.
Yeah, like
before it even does damage.
Like, he's looking at pictures of it right now.
Yeah.
And every single one is labeled like pain without injury. So I know vampires take heat damage easier, but like, I don't know. I probably just wouldn't run it. I think that's, unless my players were hitting all-time new levels of fucking around and needing to find out.
Yeah, that's kind of...
This is more of a punish your players with this for not listening to your 8 warnings about people noticing what they're up to, and less of a, like, I'm just gonna catch actually use this as part of a combat I'm planning. Like, I feel like they need to earn this for it to pop up.
Yeah.
Like, a flamethrower can be scary
Yeah.
intentionally, like, that's the big fight.
But I can make one of those in my backyard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
I
could
don't think I
even
can
be
make this in my
a
backyard.
weapon that's described in the background. Like, your character's on one side of the city, and then this happens somewhere else, and then they go, what the fuck? Yeah, that's partially why I put this at the end, because I was trying to, like, escalate the level of fuckery that's just canonically already in Vampire that you can just do.
Right.
Yeah,
Like-
no, I mean, I know you didn't design this. We're just talking about it. I just think it feels messy
Oh, yeah.
from what we talked about to actually use.
Yeah, and it's one of those. I also included it because this is one of those weird things where I could see a player potentially being like, hey, I have a bunch of contacts in the police department and I have a fuckload of influence and resources. I'm going to bribe a guy to give me this.
Right.
Even then, I'd be like, are you sure?
Are you sure you want to open that can of worms? But that's also me as a storyteller. It's like, I don't like telling players no. But I do give the caveat of, if you're going to come in with flamethrowers and these kind of weapons, you are opening the door for me as a storyteller to engage with this as well. Are you sure that's what the story and game you want to fuck with?
Yeah.
Not only that, but it's like, all right, you're using a flamethrower. Are you ready to roll a terror check every time you pull the trigger?
Yeah. Are you?
Because that's going to happen. You don't get used to what a flamethrower does.
Yeah.
No.
And there's usually a pilot light that's running that already might be enough to fuck you up, just walking in with it lit. So, like,
yeah.
flamethrower is borderline unusable via vampire. I don't want to say always no, but, like, questionably.
Yeah, I think the most fucked up weapon a vampire could use effectively, potentially, would be like a thermite grenade.
Yeah, or a flare gun.
Yeah.
That's about the line for them because the fire doesn't stop till it's away from them.
Yes.
I'd say some. I could see some like Sabbat war packs using flamethrowers.
Oh, yeah.
because they have rituals and like practices.
Oh
that
yeah,
help
Church of
them.
Cain guys.
Yeah, they're just like fire. That's great. Let's burn it all down.
Right, and you're just like, oh
What is
no.
wrong with you?
Yeah. So that was Sarah's basic and advanced crash courses for Vampire the
Hell
Masquerade.
yeah.
Yeah.
All of it's very cool stuff. I think that it's a fun discussion. This whole turn-based specifically
Yeah.
damage, I think, is a fun discussion to have, because I think that if you do want to crank that difficulty and that intenseness up to, like, in my opinion, almost unimaginable levels, because yes, you're stuck there for 3 turns, but let's think how SI would think. Like, we're gonna interrogate this vampire. Well, we don't have this thing truck mounted anymore. It's stuck, like, to this wall, and they're stuck in this room. Okay, now that vampire's fucked if they're taking ag damage every turn. You know, that's 6 seconds. Their party doesn't even have time to get in the door and to the room before they're dead.
Well, that's why the interrogation ADS is the standard one.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it only takes, depending on the vampire, because it's superficial. Let's average is 5 wounds, 5 dots in health. So what? 10 turns before they're dead.
I mean, who cares? It's a blank body.
Me as the player cares.
I know. I know. You're not wrong.
Me
You're
as
not
an
you're-
SI agent.
Yeah,
Yeah, fuck them.
yeah.
We'll just catch another.
Yeah,
Well,
we'll find more.
Also, an SA agent. I know we're getting to the icky thing we said we're going to talk about it. It's like, run it for a while, turn it off. You want to talk? All right, we'll turn it on again at some point. We're not going to tell you when, though. Let us know when you want to talk.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. SI agents would do that kind of thing.
Here, have a blood bag.
You hungry? No? We'll leave it here for you.
Oh, you still don't want to talk about it? Okay, cool. Are you getting hungry? Cool. Hey, so we found your girlfriend. Chuck her in the room and then just shut the door and wait.
Turn on the heat gun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh god, no. Yeah. So I guess that's my only like kind of positive on the weapons being as fucked up as they are, is because they are fucked up, and I don't want it to become silly hand wave Call of Duty levels of nonsense, but that is just my preference on storytelling and stuff.
I'm not even against it. I guess from my perspective, it's just something that, like, would really need a lot of build-up and well handled, because otherwise it does feel like, for just role-playing terms, it starts to feel like pulling out a dragon for your level 2 party. Like, they know when this thing goes off that they're basically not going to be able to do anything about it functionally for a while. It's going to become a target.
Yep.
and that's a really, really hard thing to pull off well without frustrating players.
Yeah.
Even not even like the characters might be afraid, but I feel like the players might feel a little frustrated because I feel like things like that do border on like taking away like control.
Yeah.
It's like if like, all right, I'm gonna make you guys fire frenzy every round. Every time you go someplace, oh, there's a fireplace, everyone roll frenzy.
Mm-hmm.
Every round someone sets stuff on fire, roll frenzy. Eventually your players are going to be like, I don't want to fucking play this game anymore. We're just
Yeah.
frenzying all the time. Using shit like this against your players without proper build-up, discussion, and all that is going to be equally annoying and frustrating and
Yeah.
problematic. So like if you're going to use this stuff, it needs to build to it. It needs to be like the Second Inquisition is raising the city and this is the story focus that we're running, or your players did something so stupid and fucked on camera that they are specifically going after them and the people they associate with.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this needs to be called in for a good reason, or else I think not just, like, the story won't make sense, or, like, we're not handling it well, but, like, the players are just going to be pissed from a
Yeah.
player perspective.
And because I kind of categorize these weapons as like advanced weapons, so
Yeah.
there might even be just other vampires who grab this shit because it's like, oh, okay, you wanted to throw down on this turf war? Okay. That this might be the kind of guns I would bring as a storyteller if the players got just really fucking weird with it.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, oh, this is the can of demon monkeys you want to open? Okay.
Here we are.
Here we are. I will ask, are you sure?
Right.
Do you guys really, this is just the game you want to play? Because if you do, that's fine, but I have this closet full of nightmares. And I'm going to
it's
make
called
you
the
regretty
Second
spaghetti.
Inquisition book.
Yeah. And a
whole
lot
book
of that
is
stuff
terrifying.
is sold by Raytheon at conventions. So people can just buy this shit. I am playing a vampire who is really old and has infinite money and time. I can ghoul somebody to go to this convention and buy whatever fun modern horrors exist.
I got 5 dots in resources and nothing to do.
And you keep stealing my parking space.
You know what? We're not going to have a parking space there anymore. Bomb. Can't take it if it's not there.
But no, the Second Inquisition stuff is really cool. I would, if you want to run them, there's definitely some stuff in the in-between areas that I would go to first, but we'll do another episode on them soon, I'm sure.
Soon.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely
Yes.
not planned.
Oh god, imagine a werewolf that's just done with all these vampires shit and just flamethrower. Werewolf with a flamethrower.
Yeah.
Horrifying. Just
How
werewolf
fast-
and Krynos with a flamethrower.
How fast would...
Krynos
I
form
forget-
can you use?
I did say he was using it well, he just hasn't.
He's actually just beating someone with it. It
Just
might
ac-
explode. Who
Just
knows?
accidentally whacking the trigger and just spraying fire at random.
Now, do you think a werewolf might have, like, moral problems with a flamethrower?
Fire is part of nature.
A flamethrower is not. Petroleum.
Hear me out. Guy is dying.
So let's burn down.
And
this
I'm fighting
forest.
for the Lord. I didn't say this werewolf was a good idea or a good
Okay,
person.
That's fair. Yeah.
And
Hey,
also,
look,
why'd we say forest? He might be fine with burning down your library in the city.
That's true.
It's like
That's
this
true.
building, this glass monument to the corruption of our planet. Fuck you, I'm setting all of this on fire and then myself.
Fair enough.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways this could go, and it doesn't have to just be Second Inquisition that has this shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Happy 4th of July and Canada Day.
Hello.
Freedom!
Screech!
Speaking of freedom, thank you, Paralyze, for the good tunes.
Yeah, that is Paralyze is the sound of freedom.
Yeah, they
is.
truly are.
Mhm.
They're on Bandcamp. You should listen and give them dollars.
Give them them dollars.
Dollar.
Speaking of dollars, we have a Patreon, and you can give us dollars
Dollar,
if you
dollar.
like. We have everything from a monthly patron episode. This month, we're doing The Quiet Year. And next month, too. We're doing 3 episodes on The Quiet Year. There's already one out, but we have all kinds of stuff that we talked about over there. You guys vote on them, and then we do an episode about it. And speaking of voting, patrons also get to vote for which clan dives we do next, and the poll has wrapped. So next clan deep dive is Ravnos.
Ravnos.
So in a couple months, we're going to wait till after Gen Con.
Yeah.
Because we're going to be at Gen Con.
We are Gen Con. We're doing a live version of our show. Hello. We would love to see your faces.
Get in here.
Yeah, there are tickets.
Give John deviled eggs.
There are tickets on sale. Please go snap some up. We're at 10 a.m. on Friday.
Yes. 10 a.m. on Friday.
At Union
So,
Station.
It's a good way to
Right?
start
Yes.
your day. Last year we had donuts. Maybe we'll bring that again for the early people again.
Yeah, I can bring some
Maybe.
donuts.
We're going to have goodies regardless.
There will be goodies. There will be laughs. There will be some learning.
Yeah, we're
There
gonna
will
do
be some loving.
And speaking of our patron again, what we're going to be talking about at tabletop horror stories. We're going to start with our patrons, have them share some, and talk about that kind of thing. And then we're
Yeah.
doing a live Q&A with everyone after. So,
Yeah. So we'd love to see your lovely faces.
And if you can't make it, we might put a recording up for the patrons since we're answering their questions.
Yes.
Maybe.
We're trying. We're hoping the audio will actually work this year.
We've gotten a different PA every year that I've been there
Mhm.
for our events or other events.
Mhm.
So we don't know. So I'm trying to pre-plan everything possible so that we can record and be good with it. Another person I know who did it brought their own PA and recording setup, and I can't afford a portable PA system to bring to the hall that we were given. So we're going to use whatever we get and try and get the best sound out of it. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to get something, even if it's just like a fucking phone 10 feet in front of us recording. We'll figure out something for y'all.
We do have that boom mic.
We do have a boom. And I do have that camera. That doesn't really make any difference, really, but I was just...
Yeah. But either way, we're going to do a live show. It's at Gen Con. It's going to be a lot of fun. Come say hi. We're going to be around all weekend at Gen Con. I know we usually on Sundays do a meet and greet for people, and that's going to be at a public space, so you don't even have to be at Gen Con. If you're just in the area and want to come say hi, grab some food with us, get some treats.
You
But
better do it.
yeah, you better come to our live show and drag all your friends.
That's it.
Yes. Because we're cool.
Cancel whatever other plans you have.
Yeah, fuck them.
Skip
Yeah.
work.
It's due.
On Friday at 10 a.m. Go
Yeah.
to work afterwards. Go into at like lunch.
Yeah.
Take a half day.
Take a half day.
Come
Just
say hi.
go in late. Tell them it was a religious holiday.
Yeah. Or that you had the poops.
Don't share that.
Hey, it works for me. Because no boss wants evidence of that.
That's fair. That's valid. We also exist on social media, Instagram. Keep an eye out at Blink Buddies Pod. Also TikTok at Blink Buddies Podcast. We're also going to be sharing some updates on our Gen Con activities.
Yes. Yeah. I made a post already about we do have an official event page up on the Gen Con events catalog that's been up for a while now, but we're going to be posting more events and stuff. So
hell yeah.
It's pretty neat.
Also, we have a special event coming up on the show in relation to Gen Con. It will be soon.
Yeah.
It's going to be hairy.
It's going to be real hairy.
It's fine. Anyways, goodbye.
Goodbye.
Freedom.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It is freedom. Freedom Day.
Mwah! Get out of here. I gotta celebrate my freedom.